So one of the most surprising parts of the pandemic for me was the shutdown globally of live in-person events. Instantly, as keynote speakers, we shifted our business to a virtual venue. We adjusted our speech, our speaking style, and our content. And at first it was a bigger deal than I realized. Now I've done over 100 virtual keynotes, and they are really a fantastic way to keep people focused, engaged, and inspired. Inspiration now is needed because of uncertain times. People need to feel uplifted, they need to be inspired, and you can't put a price tag on hope. If you're determining a budget for a virtual keynote speaker, first of all, think about the value. What would it be worth for teams to come together with a strong inspirational message laced with hope and passion? The right message from the right person can catapult people forward. See, emotion is energy in motion. It builds forward momentum. This is what everyone wants when we feel stuck. So what are virtual keynote speaker fees? Well, in the beginning, I was told by speakers bureaus at the start of the pandemic that speakers were reducing their fees drastically for online events. Many keynote speakers were doing several virtual events a day, likely wearing pajama pants. Doing more events meant you could charge less for each individual event. But over time, the fees have increased as keynote speakers have gotten more familiar with virtual platforms. Audiences have, and meeting planners have also kept up with this trend, and virtual events have made a lasting impression. They're here to stay. They are more accessible, they are less expensive, and they are easier to organize than live event. There's a lot less risk. Currently, virtual keynote speakers have a very wide fee range. It can be from a few $1,000s to upwards of $40,000 or more. From the keynote speakers that I've talked to who are friends of mine, they reduced their live speaking fee by an average of about 30% for a virtual event. So I have found that corporate budgets for virtual keynote speakers are very resilient. They're still quite high. They recognize the need for continual inspiration, especially when teams aren't all together in their office. They need the inspiration more. So in my experience, association budgets for virtual keynote speakers have dropped. This is mostly because associations, they were hit really hard when live events tanked. But virtual events are a great way to keep people motivated, and it is the most cost-effective and most accessible way to do it because a keynote speaker doesn't have to travel. It's easier to schedule virtual events. You save on airfare, hotel, incidentals. Also, you can invite more people to attend. All they need is a computer, or they can listen on a cell phone. You can also ask a virtual keynote speaker to do a pre-recorded message, and then the audience just listens to it. I prefer to use technology to interact with the crowd virtually. For me, the comment box is a great way to incorporate audience feedback throughout the keynote speech. So then reading live comments throughout the keynote address can build momentum within the crowd. A keynote speaker may charge differently for a pre-recorded message than a live, interactive, virtual keynote. So ask them about their different fees. I have one keynote speaker friend who has used the same pre-recorded virtual speech and sold it to over 15 different events. Most of the time, the audience doesn't even know it's pre-recorded. A virtual keynote speaker's fees are often negotiable. They may charge differently based on whether it's pre-recorded or whether it's a live virtual keynote. Some may charge more significant number of audience members listening to the message. They may increase their fee. Some virtual keynote speakers will allow you to record a live keynote to distribute it to your members, but they might charge more. Always ask a keynote speaker for their virtual and live keynote speaker fees. It's more accessible to gauge negotiation room when you know the fee range. You can also ask if they have any virtual products like ebooks that they can include at a discounted rate. So many virtual keynote speakers will use something like PowerPoint. So just be sure that you have the technology to support it. It's usually pretty simple. Also, most events do a pre-keynote virtual walkthrough, just so that we can test the technology, the PowerPoint, etc. It also helps to know a virtual keynote speaker interacts with the audience. How do they do it? Using the individual technology. Some will use polls. Others will use emojis or the raise hand function, thumbs up. Others need the program planner to advance the PowerPoint slides for them while they talk. Some keynote speakers do a question and answer session at the end of a virtual talk. So once you've narrowed down your virtual keynote speaker shortlist, now reach out and inquire about fees. Ask if their virtual price is negotiable. Ask what their live fee is. Also, see what kind of value added they can provide. Will they do virtual PDFs or workbooks? Will they interact with your social media to engage the audience pre-event? Will they do a pre-event video to market to your members? All this is value added. Always look for ways to leverage the keynote speaker so that you can get the most bang for your buck in your event.